So what was your experience with Cyberpunk 2077? Mine? I dropped it after about 12 hours back in December 2020. And that was a shock to me, because I had really been waiting for this game. But something didn't click. Not because of bugs or technical issues, though there were plenty. It just felt empty. I didn't care about what was happening. Each time I loaded it up, I lasted shorter and shorter until one day, I simply stopped. It went on the shelf of unfinished games I have quietly given up on. I rarely return to dropped games. If I'm not interested the first time, I don't expect a miracle later. That's why I've never finished a 50-hour campaign I once abandoned. Not Far Cry 5, not Watch Dogs 2, and I thought Cyberpunk 2077 would join that same list. I checked it on updates from time to time, out of curiosity, but I didn't reinstall it. Not until much later, long after its redemption arc had begun. But when I did, it completely changed how I saw Cyberpunk 2077. After 5 years, I took Cyberpunk off the shelf and finished it. Today I want to talk about Phantom Liberty, about one of the smartest redemption arcs in gaming and possibly the most important expansion I've ever played. Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to be a triumph. CD Projekt Red's next big masterpiece after The Witcher 3. It wasn't. The launch was a mess. Bugs, broken AI, confusing system and expectations no game could meet. But honestly, the problem wasn't just technical. I played Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, I can live with bugs. What I couldn't deal with was the emptiness. Night City was huge and detailed, yet somehow lifeless. The game drowned me in mechanics and lore. Fixers, gangs, cyberware, hacking, perks, tarot cards, side gigs. Everything seemed urgent, but nothing truly mattered. Why learn stealth when enemies spot you through walls? Why grind for street greed when it barely changes anything? Eventually, the game boiled down to the rhythm. Show up, shoot everyone, move on. And like thousands of others, I simply stopped. The studio spent years fixing it. Patches, updates, system overhauls. But how do you patch indifference? Turns out you can. But not with code, with meaning. Let's address the elephant in the room, The Witcher 3. That game didn't just succeed, it defined what narrative RPGs could be. Almost overnight, CD Projekt Red became a global benchmark for storytelling, world-building, and respect for players. They could have stopped there, released more paid DLCs, moved on, but instead they gave us Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, both massive, self-contained stories packed with new mechanics, improvements, and care. Each of those expansions could have been a standalone game, yet CDPR sold them at a fair price, with a clear message. We're not done. We want to finish the story properly. Players noticed. Respect was earned. For a while, CDPR could do no wrong. But when Cyberpunk 2077 launched, all that goodwill collapsed overnight. And falling after The Witcher 3, that hurts more than any ordinary failure. For many, it felt like proof that CDPR lost their touch, that The Witcher was lightning in a bottle. Then, 3 years later, Phantom Liberty arrived and changed everything. Before we talk about Phantom Liberty, we need to mention one crucial thing, an update, without which this DLC simply wouldn't exist. If Phantom Liberty is the heart of a new game, then Update 2.0 is its backbone. It's not a patch, it's a reconstruction. CD Projekt essentially dismantled Cyberpunk 2077 and rebuilt it from the ground up. Combat, perks, police, AI, vehicles, the interface. Everything was revoked to finally match the game they had promised us years ago. And here's the most important part. They released it for free. No marketing spectacle, no grand apology tour. They just did it, as if quietly saying, now you can play the way it was meant to be played. After Update 2.0, Cyberpunk 2077 finally stopped being a promise and became a game. Every skill now has a purpose. Every build feels distinct. You can be a ghostly netrunner, a stealth cyber samurai, an engineer with deployable turrets, and all of it actually works. And only on that foundation could Phantom Liberty truly shine. Without Update 2.0, it would have been just a great story trapped inside a broken game. With it, it becomes the culmination of everything Cyberpunk was supposed to be. And when you first put up the new menu, see the refreshed UI, and hear the roar of the engines as you drive through Night City, you realize something simple but powerful. You didn't return to the old game, you're playing a new one. Phantom Liberty doesn't feel like an add-on. It feels like the missing chapter that makes the whole game finally make sense. It's inserted seamlessly into the main story, not after, not before, but during the moment when everything feels hopeless. You're desperate, running out of options, and suddenly someone calls. There is another way. It's one of the smartest structural decisions I've seen in a modern RPG. Because it hits you right when you're emotionally vulnerable, when V is losing control, when the story starts to spin in circles, and then it gives you hope. False? Maybe, but powerful. For players who give up on the main game, that's huge. You don't have to replay 40 hours of content to experience the new story. You can just pick up from the middle and move forward. But the key is, Phantom Liberty isn't a shortcut. It doesn't skip the main story, it rewrites it. Your choices here genuinely matter, and the DLC provides an alternative ending that fully resolves the relic conflict. It's not a side quest, it's a new branch of the main narrative. That's a big deal in game design. Think about it. How often does a studio go back to its broken narrative spine and rebuild it from within? Phantom Liberty does exactly that. It's a second chance, not just for the game, but for the player. And it's elegantly self-contained. You can play it on its own terms, or as a part of a full arc. That duality, standalone yet integral, is that gives the DLC its brilliance. When I realized that, I stopped treating it like an extra content. It is the main game, just told from the different angle. And the paradox is that by replacing the main storyline, Phantom Liberty somehow rekindles the urge to return to it, to finish what you once left behind. If the base game was a sprawling techno-noir about identity and rebellion, Phantom Liberty is an intimate, suffocating spy thriller about loyalty, guilt, and survival. The tone shifts completely. The music tightens, the palette darkens, and the dialogue becomes razor sharp. You're not a street merc anymore. You're a ghost moving through corridors of paranoia. The writing is dense and deliberate. It doesn't spoon-feed exposition. It trusts you to follow complex alliances, secret deals, and moral ambiguity. For the first time in Cyberpunk 2077, conversations feels like chess matches instead of exposition dumps. And the best part, every choice echoes. You can't rely on intuition alone. Each dialogue has weight. Choosing to trust Reed or Songbird isn't a matter of who you like more. It's about who you're willing to betray. One of the DLC's biggest achievements is emotional inversion. In the base game, you were chasing your freedom. In Phantom Liberty, freedom becomes the trap. By the time the credits roll, it's not about saving V's life anymore. It's about defining what that life means and who you're willing to destroy to keep it. Every mission builds on that tension. You might infiltrate a private gala, execute a daring presidential rescue, or sneak through Hansen's compound under the cover of chaos. Each encounter balances espionage, combat, and moral dissonance. And no matter what you do, you feel the weight of every decision. The missions are varied: stealth, negotiation, sabotage, survival, yet all remain firmly rooted in the genre of a spy thriller. It's not the scope that changes the game, but the intimacy. When the final twist lands, you don't feel tricked, you feel complicit. Because deep down you saw it coming and went along anyway. That's what Phantom Liberty nails. Not surprise, but consequence. Dogtown isn't just a new zone, it's a philosophy of level design. Night City in the base game was overwhelming, wide, chaotic, full of noise and side jobs that diluted the experience. Dogtown strips all that down to something raw, dense, and alive. Every corner has a story. Half-ruined luxury towers turned into refugee camps, markets glowing under floodlights, graffiti that tells history better than any quest log. You don't just explore Dogtown, you read it piece by piece. Mechanically, it's tighter too. Gone are the endless icons and distractions. Instead, there is a rhythm of curiosity. Supply drops that trigger spontaneous firefights. Dynamic patrols that feel unpredictable. Interiors you can actually navigate with purpose. Dogtown works both as a metaphor and a mechanic. It's a sandbox of compression, a training ground for players who once felt lost in Night City. Here you learn restraint, awareness, and survival. Lessons that make return into the wider city feel almost liberating. Dogtown is what Night City always wanted to be, a living system of cause and effect. Its small scale amplifies immersion, because now you recognize faces, remember streets, feel the weight of returning to the same bar or checkpoint. It teaches restraint, something open-world games often forget. Dogtown doesn't beg for attention, it earns it. And as you learn its layout, its hierarchy, its corruption, you realize something else. Dogtown mirrors V's own state of mind. Broken, cornered, cut off from the world, yet still alive. It's not just a place, it's a reflection. And because Dogtown works as a playable microcosm, stepping back into the sprawl of Night City no longer feels daunting. You know how to move through it now. You've learned its rhythm. CD Projekt has always excelled at one thing, creating complex, deeply human characters. Whether they main protagonist, side figures, or even people you meet once and never again, they all feel alive. Cyberpunk 2077 was no exception. Even where its story stumbled, its characters endured. Flawed, conflicted, painfully real. They breathe through contradictions, in their sins and virtues, their selfishness and compassion. They stay with you because you understand them, even when you can't forgive them. Phantom Liberty takes this even further. Every major character is layered, contradictory, impossible to define. And every side character is so sharply written that you don't even need a voice line or portrait to know who's speaking. One glance at the subtitles is enough. At the top, we have President Rosalind Myers, the iron-blooded leader, whose every decision carries the weight of millions of lives. Is she simply trying to protect her country, experimenting with a black wall as a desperate measure? Or is she orchestrating something monstrous, treating human lives as chess pieces in her pursuit of control? In the opposition stands Kurt Hansen, a former soldier who's seen cost of patriotism and decided to build his own state within the ruins. Does he rule through power and cruelty, or through justice twisted by survival? Myers embodies order. Hansen embodies chaos. Both claim to offer freedom. Neither can. Then there's Solomon Reed, the loyal agent, the patriot who serves without question. A man of duty and discipline, or a man so blinded by obedience that the ends justify the means, no matter the cost in human lives. Across from him stands Songbird, a ghost caught in the gears of power. Is she a victim desperate to break free no matter who she hurts along the way? Or a selfish dreamer, willing to drag an entire country into war just to escape her own mistakes? Each one is a contradiction, both victim and villain. They mirror each other, two products of the same system, one waiting to be called back into service, the other running from it at any cost. One finds peace in following orders, the other in breaking them. And caught between them is us, V, flung back and forth like a bullet ricocheting between ideals. We try to balance chaos and order, mercy and survival. We chase our freedom, but where does it lie? In structure or in rebellion? In Dogtown's anarchy or Night City's illusion of control?
That's the tragedy, V. Someone's gonna play victim to the other's good intentions.
By the end, the question stops being who's right and becomes who deserves to be free. Because freedom here is the most fragile illusion of all, a phantom shimmering just out of reach. I've mentioned the endings before, but one of them defines the title more perfectly than any line of dialogue ever could, and I want to talk about it now. And yes, this part comes with spoilers. It's often called the best ending, but for me, it's the most tragic. You finally get what you wanted since the start. The relic is gone, Johnny Silverhand is gone, V is alive, free. That was my ending. I sided with Songbird, then doubted her, then changed my mind again. Eventually, I traded her life for my cure. Not out of cruelty, but out of exhaustion. I wanted peace. And for a brief moment, it feels like victory. You wake up, you're healthy, you made it. The nightmare is over. Then the truth hits. 2 years have passed. To save you, they stripped away every implant, every piece of chrome. You're whole, but no longer you. You return to Night City, but the city has moved on. Your friends are gone, your work is gone. You can't fight, can't survive, can't belong. For the first time, you see the city not as a dream, but as a place that doesn't remember you. The world has evolved past you, and you realize the most painful truth. V survived, but the person who survived isn't V anymore. And that's the cruel beauty of Phantom Liberty. It doesn't just let you escape your prison. It shows you that maybe the bars were the only thing keeping you standing. When the screen faded to black, I didn't feel victory. I had won the game, but lost the player. But then I did something I hadn't done in years. I sat down and played base game again. I loaded my old 2020 save, abandoned mid-story, untouched for years, and I went back into Night City. As soon as the game took it away from me, I understood how much I still needed it. When Phantom Liberty ended, I didn't uninstall the game. I went back to the story I left unfinished years ago. Because now I had to finish it. Not to see the credits, but to do it my way. To give V the ending she deserved. And that, I think, is the most brilliant thing about Phantom Liberty. Maybe it only worked on me, but I doubt it. Most DLC exists to extend a game, to expand the world, or add a few more hours of content. This one does something entirely different. It revives the base game. It's like Phantom Liberty performs CPR on your old save file, breathing life back into your own abandoned story. Suddenly, you're walking through Night City again, wide-eyed and alive, feeling something you haven't felt since your very first playthrough. Excitement, curiosity, joy. That paradox of an ending that makes you start again is what makes Phantom Liberty so genius. So yes, Phantom Liberty is an incredible expansion, but more importantly, it's one of gaming's most meaningful redemption stories. I've seen comebacks before. No Man's Sky, Final Fantasy XIV, Destiny 2, they all rebuild themselves by adding content, more systems, more gear, more worlds. CD Projekt did something rare. They didn't add more, they distilled. Phantom Liberty isn't a bandage, it's a confession. It says we know what went wrong and we understand why. The base game was loud, messy, sprawling. The DLC is focused, precise, intimate. Where the main game scattered its identity, Phantom Liberty finds its voice. And that matters, because it shows that CDPR listened. They didn't chase trends or PR optics. They rebuilt these systems, rewrote the story structure, and released something that actually feels earned. And here where it gets truly important, because this isn't just about redemption, it's about legacy. When CD Projekt announced they were working on The Witcher 4, the reaction was cautious. People wanted to believe again, but trust once broken doesn't rebuild easily. Phantom Liberty changed that. It proved that CDPR still has it. The storytelling, the moral nuance, the ability to build worlds that hurt and heal at the same time. It showed that Cyberpunk wasn't a fluke, it was a lesson. If The Witcher 3 was the triumph and Cyberpunk 2077 the fall, then Phantom Liberty is the climb back up. It's not just a comeback, it's a rehearsal for the studio's future. Because if CDPR can turn one of the most disastrous launches in gaming history into one of its most respected second acts, then maybe, just maybe, The Witcher 4 will start not from zero, but from experience. Phantom Liberty isn't just good DLC, it's proof that creative failure doesn't have to end a studio's story. Sometimes it's the chapter that makes the next one possible. At the start of this video, I said Phantom Liberty might be one of gaming's greatest redemption stories. Now, I think it's more than that. It's a bridge between past and future, between failure and hope, between The Witcher 3 and whatever comes next. It reminded me why I play games, not to escape but to witness growth, not just in characters, but in creators themselves. Phantom Liberty doesn't erase Cyberpunk flaws. It acknowledges them and then turns them into art. So, is it the most important DLC ever made? Maybe not for everyone, but for me, yes, because it proved that games can fall, learn, and rise again. And that the people who make them can too.